So would you like to start by introducing who is Keith?
Hi. Yeah. So as you and I have spoke before, I've started a bunch of companies. I've had a few what they call successful exits. So a few companies that went public, a few companies that got sold, and then a few crashed and burned. I hit the wall at 100 miles an hour and just went up in flames. But I love to share all of those stories with entrepreneurs because you have to know the risk to experience the reward, failure. So now I decided that I would step back a little bit and spend some time and attention working with other startups, working with other accelerator groups like yours. So if I can help the entrepreneurs in that community, it would just be a wonderful payback for me. And I will say just one other thing. It's a great time to be an entrepreneur. It's a really challenging time to be at a big company today. They're dealing with all challenges of COVID and reset and other issues where it's a great time to be in a startup, particularly in emerging economies like Mexico.
I agree with that. It is an amazing time to be an entrepreneur right now, and the barrier to entry is lower and lower at the international scale. You mentioned how the entrepreneurial life is tough, right? There's lots of competition, lots of risk. You mentioned that you had an experience of going 100 miles an hour and hitting a wall. What would be some of your tips looking back that you would have wished you had said to your younger self?
You have such a desire once. I mean, there's lots of ways to start a business. And in one case, I took money, and you take money from friends and family and investors, and you want to just go pay it back. So what do? You go rush out into the market with your product and try to sell the heck out of it. And the truth is, there are sometimes it's really good to go fast, and sometimes it's really good to go slow. And one of the times I think it's important to go slow is as you're bringing out a product. We call it MVP, a minimal viable product is a common phrase today, where it's this product that I think is right for the market, but I don't know for sure. And when I started that last company, we didn't really spend that much time in the MVP stage. We rushed to market. And instead of really spending time with a couple really good quality prospective companies who would give me feedback on what they liked and didn't like, that whole exploration of the UI, the UX, the features, the benefits, how they describe the product. So I could lean deeper into that and get more into the next rev of the product. I just wanted to run. And it's only going to get better too, because it's never done. So my 1.0 is market ready, and customers are going to love it. And then I'm going to even make it better and just keep staying ahead of their expectations.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And that's a lot of part of the Chispa's methodology too. And why we kind of shorten the go to market so quickly, because we don't want them to be spending months behind a PowerPoint, right? Or like months trying to make this perfect plan. You have to have an MVP, you have to prototype, get it in front of your customer, see if it works, fix it, see if it works, fix it, see if it works, fix it.
Yeah, and that's really golden time when you have a customer in front of you. Really stay focused on that moment and take your time with it. I'm going through that with some other companies I work with today. And they just go, oh, I've got to do a couple customer interviews, and then I'm off to do this, then I'm off to do that, then I'm off to, mop the floor. No, just stay focused, do the customer interviews, and don't worry about anything else. Let that go on as long as possible till they hang up on you. Keep asking questions and learning. And I know they said 20 minutes, try to take 40 minutes. Be greedy. Be greedy.
How to do effective customer interviews is also something we love talking to our entrepreneurs about, right? Like, how do you really ask questions to get true answers, insightful answers back? What are some of your kind of questions or style or approach?
Yes, and here I want to ask or compliment Ryden's question. And here I'm going to ask you, what's your main tip when you are making a valuable customer interview?
That's fantastic. So I'm not a great customer interviewer, but I've been with enough customer interviewers to do a great job. And what they do is they have a plan. So there's a process by which, let's go talk about the user experience. Let's go talk about each of the features and what their expectations are and what they get out of that experience. But I also look at that standpoint of customer delivery and the experience they have as what they would, how they will use it, how they will download it, how they will share it, how they will, how it will grow within their organization. Like, look, let's say I have a product that helps do customer interviews. How can I understand how they do dozens of interviews and then share it with dozens of people? So how do I really understand the process of how a successful rollout will happen within the company? Does that make sense? So there's a technical review, usage, and then an implementation, and then I get to the fun questions.
But I've also recently learned to really love asking emotion-based questions. Like, what do you feel right before you realize you want this product? How do you feel when you see it? How do you feel when you're touching it? Like,
You
for me,
get
it provides a richer peer.
You clearly get involved in more interesting products than I've been involved in lately. So good. I think there is something to the psychological effect, though, of what was your expectation before you logged in, or what did you expect?
So you also recently launched a podcast, and the guests that you've had on it are incredible. Everyone from Mark Cuban to
And we also
Jay
know that you have a blog.
And you have a blog. What are some of the kind of highlights of all of these interviews that you've been doing that you would love to re-share with the entrepreneurs watching this podcast?
The thing I think there's something special about being an entrepreneur, but anybody can be an entrepreneur. So it's not a unique gene that's been genetically manipulated, or it's only in part of your family or certain people. Anybody can be an entrepreneur. You just have to be willing to take a chance. But we know that when put in a certain situation, we can get a little crazy, whether it's at a party, which I know you guys never do, or in a business.
Networking happens on the dance floor these days.
Well, it's going to start again. In a life situation, I got to save somebody. I do something crazy. I'll go jump into the ocean and I can't swim, but heck, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to go make it happen. I got to go save this person. And a business can be like that too. I've got to go jump into an ocean and learn how to swim, even though I haven't done it before. So my thing that I like to share is, everybody's ready to jump in the ocean. There are lots of resources that'll help you figure out how to swim. Let's go. What do you need?
I really like that analogy.
Yeah, let's lean into that, because I personally know that I've started a bunch of companies. I don't think I'm anything special. I was never great in school. I was never great in business. I didn't read Wall Street Journal. I just had an idea. And I loved it. So
we totally on Chispa agree with you that everyone can be an entrepreneur these days. But contemplating the context on 2021, for you, what does it take to be an entrepreneur?
The other part of the comment I would share is that you don't really have to dive into the deep end of the ocean or the pool. You can go into the shallow end. And what I suggest is, a lot of people today in the recovery period of COVID and other stuff, is that people are doing little side projects and experimenting with a new business. Hey, I work at this company and yet I have an idea for a little fun thing. And they go play around with their little fun thing. And then all of a sudden their little fun thing, it becomes a website, or it becomes an e-commerce store, or it becomes a party bus or a food truck. Who knows, right? If you feel like starting a company and leaving your full-time job is too big of a leap, think of a way to make it a smaller step.
Connecting your MVP to your water analogy to this, it all flows in so well, pun intended.
Okay, let it flow.
Right? Like, starting in the shallow end is your MVP. And you're right, you don't need to jump into the deep end right away.
I'll make one more comment. I like you guys a lot. I really want to see you be successful. I want to see you help create this fertile farm for entrepreneurs to grow. And part of that, I want to see Mexico grow. And
what are some of your kind of like most, you yourself, what would you say are some of your strengths that you love to just keep developing?
Yeah, I probably like bringing product to market and getting customers excited about using it and trying product, because somebody has to carry that ball over the fence with customers, and I'm not too good at doing the technology development and design. I know what I like and I know what works well, and I give my feedback and I bring customer feedback back to those people also. So there's a level of experience that I have in doing it that makes it pretty effective. But I also like to strengthen my relationships with people, sharing great product with them and making them feel, like they've got a competitive advantage because of our ability to work together.
And I'm asking that question to speak because I noticed this trend throughout the world that we're a lot of times we're so focused on what can we do better, what can we do better. But I'm trying to also push the message that sometimes it's good to focus on your strengths, right? To know what strengths that you have and find your niche given your strengths. So that's why I asked.
Yeah, no. I'll give that a definite because I think we can sometimes try to do too much and end up doing less. Whereas you focus on your strengths and just be really good at that, that's not bad. I think it could help a lot of people if they try not to be the chef and the bartender and the host and the dishwasher. Be great at one thing. That's fantastic. So
yeah, and then access a community to help all those other roles.
Right. Nobody wants me as their chef, but they'll take me as their bartender.
and a disco DJ, I think I saw somewhere.
Maybe saw that. And then there was that one night in Acapulco.
One of my last top of mind pressing questions, but you mentioned how you love coaching and advising and guiding entrepreneurs and early startups, kind of like a pass on the wisdom that you've accumulated. I've also noticed that a lot of times it's difficult for people without experience to know what questions to ask. What guidance, if any, do you have for people who may want to approach you, ask you questions, but don't really know enough to know how to ask these questions?
It's trial and error. Look, the reason I like to pay it forward so much is because I was helped so much as I was going through the businesses. I've had so much great advice and counsel, from friends to board members. So everybody can possibly give some feedback that'll be useful, but because it creates a thought, it creates an idea, and then maybe it is a useful tactic. If you really are thinking about your business and you are fully committed to it, right, then you start to socialize that with people and you get them talking and get them. And remember, we've got two ears and one mouth and should use them in that exact proportion. So as we're talking to people, listening and being present and listening well is a great skill. And so asking one simple question, hey, what do you think of this? How would you use this? How would you bring this to market? You're a great salesman. How would you sell this? Who would you sell it to? Just keep it very simple. And then if they're really a person that you're looking for answers from and they have a certain expertise, they could coach you a lot better to not know also.
I think that on my side, my last question is, what is one thing that you want to tell the younger entrepreneurs? Like, this is one thing I wish you know right now that I wish someone has told me earlier.
Don't be afraid of failure. Look, it's not fun and you probably blow some money along the way too, but you'll learn a lot. And if I'm younger, if I'm your age, I think it's a great time to go out and experiment a little bit, and almost realize like 1 in 1,000 companies that are started actually get to a certain, level of success, that they receive funding and they go public or all those other things. It's a very small number, but go out, try something you're passionate about, see what happens, and enjoy the ride, because the journey is the reward. The journey is the reward.